Well, well, Church of STFU, here we are again, and it appears that you've brought me out of my lack of political talk because, well, we have some things to discuss, my friend. And not in a demeaning way, on a, equal level here. Try to talk to you man to man here, person to person, whatever. Um, I have actually a lot of things I want to talk about because I feel like you make the same mistakes in your videos again and again, and they're kind of frustrating. I know overall you mean well, and I think we agree on a whole host of issues. So it's not like, I'm coming at you from a complete different angle. I mean, in some ways I am. I think we all are to some degree. But I think also I do like a lot of what you're saying, and I think I do like a lot of what the core of what you're saying. So I'm gonna do some of the meat of your argument. I think the biggest points of your arguments. Then I'm gonna go to the comments section. If there's any time left over, I might comment on a few other things because I actually have other sections. But I think I'll leave it there probably because that'll be a lot to talk about. So this is my first video in Nashville, New Hampshire. So for whatever that's worth, just you know, yeah. So anyway, moving on. So I wanted to address your video about market ethics. Now, this video is called "The Market Doesn't Have Ethics, People Do." Now, I think a big part of this problem, and this is really the majority of my problem, is market conflationism. You have this real weird idea that markets right now are somehow, um, I don't know. It's such a weird concept to me because, like, it's always funny because libertarians collectivize. They say, the market will handle this, the market will handle that. I don't like that shit either. I don't like it. Just so we're clear, I don't like that stuff. My friend Ross Kenyon, he has written at the Center for Stateless Society. You can find that at c4ss.org. He's written the article, "The Market Doesn't Discipline Ron Paul, discipline Ron Paul, we do." He's like saying it, so he's talking to Ron Paul. And I know you're no fan of Ron Paul, so maybe you'll enjoy the piece. But I think you have the same sort of problem. You think that the market collectively has some sort of ethical system, or that it can have an ethical system. There's no such thing as market ethics. The market doesn't have ethics. People have ethics. Now, people make up the market, and what they collectively have as ethics and agree on ethics and assign to some arbitrary concept called the market. Now, I guess you could say that then the market does have ethics, but I don't think it has ethics in the same way that you think it does. Um, I think a lot of what you're doing in your video is a lot of market conflationism. You're talking about the market system currently as if that's the only system that could exist, or that's the only system that could exist under the banner of the market system. And I don't really think that's the case. I don't think it's the case at all. And I'll explain why as we go further on. So you asked, the question is what kind of market? And right off the bat, I disagree. The question isn't what kind of market, but what is a market? What is a market system to you? For me, I mean, we could go a lot of different ways about how a market is defined. Usually, markets are defined by exchange. From the mesoids and the right libertarians and even sometimes the libertarians in general, I'm ashamed to say, the market is everything that's voluntary and peaceful and mutually beneficial. The market is just everything wonderful. I think that's really starry-eyed and naive, and I have my problems with modern day libertarianism. But the question isn't what kind of market, but the question is what is a market, and then we should move on to what kind of market, because you never define for us what you think markets are. You never say, here's a video in which I define what I think markets are. You don't even do that. This isn't to insult you. This is just a constructive criticism. If you're going to talk about the market, say what you think the market is. I don't think that's that hard. Just point us to an article that you think defines the market in a great way, or another YouTube video, whatever. But you never do, and so I'm at a loss of what to say about your definitions of market. When it all comes down to it, I can't criticize here and there, I can't say things here and there, but in the end, I don't have as much as I could say because you never define your terms. So the question, again, isn't what kind of market, but what is a market? You don't answer this question, so I can't really move on to what kind of market, at least by your definitions or by your terminology. So here we go. Let's see. So, the fact of the matter is the kind of market that is really global is well, I guess I can't say global, but especially central to the U.S. is state capitalism, um, and that's that's a captured market. I might post something by Charles Johnson in the description, a great left libertarian, who talks about something called captured markets, where basically the regulatory commissions and officials basically buy out, the marketplace or whatever you want to call. Now, I don't have a great definition of the market either, but I'm trying to go by your definition, not by mine. So I'm going to do sort of a cop out by saying I'm not going to give you my definition of the market either, which I know is kind of lame. But I want to know what your definition is. I'm not going to make my own definition until I know what yours is, so we can compare, contrast, talk about this, etc. So you said, should the market mechanism be the only mechanism? I agree with you. It shouldn't. I think the market has its limits. All all constructs have their limits, and they can only go so far. And you make this point greatly. This is one of the strong suits of this video, that you say, markets have their limit. We need to think about what their limits are, what the implications of that are, and so on and so forth. I think that's great. I applaud you for doing that, because I think a lot more libertarians need to hear that. The market has limits. Every single construct we have, because humans are fallible, has limits. I don't think that can be too hotly contested. Now, you say we invented money. Now, I'm not sure how true that is, and I'm not a monetary theorist, so, bear with me. I do hear there's a book by David Graeber about the theory of credit or something like that. It's supposed to be really good. I hear good things about it. So maybe check that out. But I don't think we invented money in the same way that you think about it. I think you're thinking as if we as a society created money. I think it was more profitable for the ruling class to have a standard monetary system, a monopolized, centralized system that they could control and that they could use to keep themselves above while they keep everybody below. All the feds, in America we have the Federal Reserve, and they mess a lot with the pricing systems and the interest and stuff like that. And who hurts that? Who hurts the most from that stuff is the working poor, the working class, the unemployed. So I don't know if we invented money. I'm not saying we didn't, but it's probably to a certain extent we did, but not in the same way I think you're thinking about it. If you heard that Skype noise, I apologize. Somebody was trying to call me. Anyway, so the market is amoral. Well, yes, but you can't say the market has ethics and then say the market has a moral. I guess your point is that the market doesn't have ethics, and I'd agree with you, but I think we're still speaking differently here, because you're speaking as if the market could have ethics, or the market does have ethics, but these aren't actually ethics, they're just pseudo-ethics. They're just a pseudo-morality. So I think, yeah, the market is just a concept, man. Obviously, it's amoral. The people inside this arbitrary concept of the market, by the way, I'm not against markets. I'm just saying what they are. They're arbitrary concepts that people find useful to talk about. I think they're useful as well. So I'm not knocking markets. I'm not anti-libertarian or anything. I'm just trying to open up criticisms on multiple levels here. So it's kind of difficult. So, if I make mistakes, feel free to call me out. If I think you're being fair, I'll say, hey, you're right. I fucked up. So you start talking about proponents of the market. By the way, I might not have talked about the amorality of the market enough, but I have only so much time. So proponents of the market. I don't know who you're talking about. You haven't defined to me what the market is, and who would defend it. So I don't know really what to talk about there, but I wish you'd elaborate on who are the proponents of the market. Now, you say market morality basically boils down to, if it's profitable, then do it. Well, sort of, maybe. I think people get the idea that if it can get you money, if it increases your wealth, yes, it's good. That has to do with materialism and consumerism, two things I really don't like culturally. I think, you're right to an extent, but I think a lot of it comes from the corporations and the government, and, I know this sounds like typical American, libertarian rubbish, but I think it's really true. I do think that the corporations and the government have a big interest in having consumerism, materialism, a big part of the culture and society, So I don't know. If it's profitable, then do it, is the ethics of the market, so-called. I think that's largely because the power is in the hands of people. So you start talking about pseudo-morality. I've sort of talked about that. Now you say, as a society, the government, dot, dot, dot. I just left it there. I don't know what you mean. Government isn't a society. A society is a organization of people that voluntarily come together and basically associate and cooperate in a voluntary manner, and with other people. I mean, it's even if you would say, government voluntarily associates with each other or with themselves, the people in it associate voluntarily together to make government. From there, government does a whole bunch of whole bad things that I won't get into in this video. So I don't know. So the market will solve it. Yeah, you're right. This is stupid. The market will solve it. The market will take care of everything. We just got to let it alone. No, I think we can't let it alone. This is where my thick libertarianism comes in. If you don't know what that is, read Libertarianism Through Thick and Thin by Charles Johnson. But suffice to say, I agree with you. The market won't solve everything. Whatever the market is, I don't know, but I agree that not one concept will solve everything. So regardless, we're agreeing. But besides, doesn't matter about the definitions here. Not profitable equals not fixable or evil for the market. Yeah, I mean, again, I think a lot of that has to do with the interests of the people on top. And if they can't make a profit off it, then it's not evil, or then it's evil. But they can make tons of profit off, war and stuff like that. So it's just good, You talk about market propaganda measures terms. Yeah, I agree. Monopolizing terms and measures by one concept is not a good thing. The markets cause the elites to be there and leave everything up to the markets. Well, again, we shouldn't leave everything up to the markets, so I'll leave it there. But I don't think the markets cause the elites to be here. I think the current system is largely a non-market system because people aren't actually allowed to economically to exchange values with each other voluntarily in any meaningful sense because of the state exists. Basically it gets involved with with society. So I don't think there's any meaningful way that we have a market system in the sense of a market actually being an ethical agreement among multiple people. I hope that made sense. I'm really running low on time here. So quickly, I wanted to address 3 comments. But you said, but rather that we should be careful to consider whether we want the rules of the market replacing ethical standards, whether they're individual ethical standards or community-wide standards. Yes, I think that's something important to consider, but I think your idea of what the markets constitute or necessarily constitute is kind of weird. Actually, Axiomatic Liberty said something I want to quickly address. He said the ANCAPs can live by their own means in their own societies, while those who are more anti-market and more collective can establish communes. I think that's a bit divisive. I know I'm one to talk. I call myself a left libertarian, a thick libertarian. But at the same time, I mean, I think, even if it's just an example, I think it's a bit too divisive. You're not either for markets or completely against markets. I think there's definitely some gray area. And I think there's a bit of, I think ANCAPs often have very highly proprietarian notions of, property and life in general. So I think that's problematic, but I won't get into that here. Now, finally, you say, my point in the video is that I believe that through the domination of markets, today market values are leaking into societal and personal value systems. Because when a system becomes so powerful and overarching, that's what happens unless a conscious effort is made to understand and evaluate the ideological effects of the system and its experts on society and the individual. Yeah, I think you're largely right here. But again, I think we really have, whatever role we give markets, I think that's something we need to think about more. I agree. So in some nation, I think we have a lot to agree on, but there's a lot more clarification that needs to be going on between us and I think with you and your audience in general. So thanks SCFU for our Church for the good video. I enjoyed it. Some of my other libertarians didn't like it as much, but I don't really care. Anyway, so have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed the video.